right, let's see if Zara can. Let's see if Zara can deliver a
Let's see if I
perfect,
can
flawless
without
intro.
making any. Gosh, okay, pressure's on. Here
Oh
we
god,
go,
my
guys.
intro last time was really fucked up, but I was just like, yeah, just move past it. Fuck it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 8-Bit Popcorn. We're so glad you're with us for this episode where we will be discussing woman. What woman? We'll be discussing woman. Yay!
Wow, my favorite
See,
topic. It's that
We
easy.
all love
It's
a
just
woman.
that easy.
We all love a woman. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 8-Bit Popcorn. We're so glad you're with us for this episode where we will be discussing Wonder Woman 1984, with talking points such as is it pronounced lasso or lasso, and how come Chris Pine's in it? With all those answers and more, I'm joined as always by Ryan
Hello, welcome to 2021.
and Joe.
Gag me with a spoon. Sorry. I was looking up like 1980s greetings, and gag me with a spoon was one of them. So I was like, that's the one that I'm going with.
That's incredible.
It was Zara's turn to be inappropriate this week.
Yay! Yeah, there we go. What do we think? We've all seen it, right?
I watched it last night through a perfectly legitimate streaming service,
Indeed.
not the video.
We're stressing that point.
LEVIDIA.com, not that.
He even spelled it for you.
As long as you're clear what you didn't do.
What I did and did not do was
Yeah.
maybe or maybe not watch a Wonder Woman 1984 on the video.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw it last week.
Well, Zara went to the cinema to see it without us. Let's just throw that out there.
Well,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I went to the cinema to see it with my other two best friends. Shout out Jacob and Jared. Hi, love you guys. Yeah,
You guys suck.
you guys aren't my only friends, by the way. No, you are. Totally are. I don't know anyone else.
We're work colleagues. That's a different thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a different realm. Yes, I went to see it in the cinema. In a really comfy, the Cityside movie house.
Ooh, did you go to the
Mhm.
VIP section?
Oh my goodness. The whole thing is because on the website you couldn't pick not VIP. So that was the only option. And they were just all really comfy chairs
So
where
everybody is a VIP,
everyone's in VIP, yeah.
and so then
um,
nobody is a VIP.
So everyone and no one.
If we
is a
were
When
all
everyone's super
important,
no
nobody
one
would be
is.
important. Exactly.
Exactly. We're unique,
Stupid,
just like everyone
stupid
else.
logic.
And the chairs went back and stuff, so it was quite a bougie experience. Although the people on down from us had a bit of a kerfuffle. The people on down the row.
Mhm.
So I sort of missed a bit of the Diana as a kid at the start with all the doing her little trial thing. So I was kind of wait, catch me up. What's
What do you mean
Boys.
kerfuffle? This has me
There
intrigued.
was people were swapping seats, and then they asked me what my seat number was, and I was like, "Oh,
Ah.
I'm whatever 14," and they were like, "Oh, okay, so you're 14 and the next one's 15," and I was like, "That's how counting works." I
Well
didn't say
done.
that,
You
but
clearly went to school.
no, I didn't say that. And then I threw my popcorn over them. No, I wasn't being Joe.
No, that's my job.
That's your job, Joe.
Joe's
so
job
yeah,
is
and then
throwing
I
it over
kinda-
people. My job's just spilling it on the floor.
Yeah. We all got our jobs.
At least you got a large, though.
I did.
Mm.
Reduced to
It
a
was a
small.
consolation. I had a
Nobody
small.
shared their popcorn
so
with me. You both could have given me a wee bit each, and that would have evened it out. But you didn't do
I don't
that.
think I
So
give you any.
no, you didn't. Either did Joe.
Remember
That's my
that.
point. Yep.
Remember
I
that.
had a
Yes,
small
sure, right.
popcorn. It was not up for sharing.
Wow. Here's me thinking we were friends.
We are. But you know, you gotta be more than friends to get my food, okay?
Oh,
Let's just say. Do not share food.
you're like Joey.
Yeah. Yeah. Call me Joey, I kill you, but I do not share food. But yeah, so they had a kerfuffle, you missed that wee bit. But honestly, I was gonna say you missed nothing with that bit. It's a fun bit of the movie, but it doesn't come back at all. So
Mm-mm. No,
it's not
That's what a lot of
thematically
people were annoyed
relevant.
about. Yeah, there was no relevance to it other than the fact that I think they were just trying to shoehorn in the Amazonians. I
Because
don't know
we're
whether
all
these
under contract. So.
Yes,
Exactly, yeah.
yes. There was no really reason towards that. Even the fact that they were saying that obviously they told the young Diana about cheating and how it's wrong. People kind of thought that was maybe something that was going to come back or thematically into the movie or be a recurring theme in the movie, but not really.
No,
So
really
although
wasn't.
it was nice
Yeah.
to see, it was a bit wasted. Well, I don't know. What was everyone's kind of general thoughts first? Like, I feel like Zara, you really enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it, yeah. As a film, I thought it was really good. As a sequel to the first Wonder Woman, I don't know, it didn't really, they felt really separate as projects for me. But as a film, I really enjoyed it. There were a lot of weird narrative choices and a lot of random plot holes, and there were things that jarred. But on a whole, as a film, I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the themes. And yeah, I thought it was a good film overall. But I don't know if it's got really mixed reviews, and I can see why. I can understand.
Yeah.
And even actually, one of the friends that I was with was like, as soon as we came out, me and Jared were like, "Oh, well, that was cool, and we like this bit, and we like this bit." And Jacob was like, "Wait, but there were so many like plot holes, and why did that happen? And what was that?" And we were like, "Shush, shush, shush! It was really good." Shush.
Quiet. Don't spoil the atmosphere. Okay. Yeah. I had an okay time with the movie. You know, I didn't hate the movie.
Who did you see it with,
Um,
Joe?
Just with a couple of friends as well. They were all pretty middling on it as well. None of us loved it.
So not me and Zara.
Yeah, I no, no. Sorry,
God,
guys.
we're all
Ryan's fine.
horrible.
He's not hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay, right? And like me and
Who did you
Zara,
watch it with
we got
last night, Ryan?
friends.
What's that?
Who did you watch it with last night, Ryan?
Myself.
Oh,
Me, myself, and
okay.
I.
You're your own best company. It's fine.
Sometimes I am my own best company, and sometimes I am my own worst enemy.
Yeah,
I'm easy to please.
didn't have a bad time with the movie. But since then, I've just been watching like a movie every night. I don't know. It just like started this whole like movie thing with me. And here is some recommendations that I would have to watch instead of Wonder Woman. So some of the movies that I watched were Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I rewatched that. I would recommend watching that if you want to see a superhero movie. Greta Gerwig's Little Women. That was a fun movie. I enjoyed that. I watched that just last night. And Aaron Sorkin's Trial of the Chicago 7. That was an awesome movie. I would definitely recommend that. But if you want to watch something in the vein of Wonder Woman, just watch the first one because it's the better Wonder Woman movie. And each of those movies says something. They say a little bit about something, whereas I really think 1984 tries to say things, but it fails. It's messy, is how I would describe this movie. Not awful. It's just on the wrong side of mediocre.
Well, opening box office, they're saying that, well, even to date, that Wonder Woman 1984 has made $118 million worldwide, according to Variety. So they're down by about 48% to around 73 million in a market-to-market comparison to Wonder Woman 1, the first one. So it's made much less than the first movie. Now, obviously, you could attribute that to you could attribute that to theaters being closed, or the fact that we're in a pandemic, or that you could stream it on HBO Max. And it does seem like an odd choice to have released it on Christmas Day when everybody's busy with families. Maybe the studios thought that everybody was going to be adhering to social distancing and guidelines and staying at home. But if you could help it, you weren't doing that.
If you're looking at the infection rate, 1 in 50 people in the UK have COVID. So people didn't stick to those rules. Yeah. In London, it's 1 in 30. So.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, can I just, box offices and stuff are fine, if you want to look at how much money a movie made, but box office is not an indicator of quality.
Oh, definitely not.
So
definitely not.
People are like, oh, this movie failed. It's so bad. No, it's no.
Okay. But it's what a studio will use to justify whether or not they will.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although Wonder Woman has been fast tracked for a sequel.
The third, yes.
Yeah.
Which is questionable.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Very questionable. Well, Wonder Woman 1 got a 93% critic score and 84% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's on a 7.4, 7.5 IMDb. whereas Wonder Woman 1982 got only 65%.
You're 2 years
Oh,
off.
sorry.
There, right?
I got mixed between 1984 and Wonder Woman 2. Yes. That one, it got a 65% critic rating and 73% audience score and a 5.7% IMDb rating. So a lot of people are chalking that up to the writers of the second movie.
It was written and directed. I mean, mainly written and directed by Patty Jenkins.
Yep.
She was the writer and director of this one. So, like, maybe stick to directing.
She did the first one.
A fairly good director.
She did.
She did the first one. Yeah,
but there was other writers at hand in the first one.
She's gonna direct, just to bring it back to Star Wars, because y'all know I love that. Rogue Squadron, I think.
Yes,
she's.
She is a good director. I actually do think she's a good director.
Well, her action sequences in this were really good, so I'm actually excited to see what she does with the
well, she's proven that she's a good director with the first Wonder Woman. And I'm sure with her other work that's on IMDb, it just seems to be that, well, I don't know really what happened with Wonder Woman 2 in terms of the actual story.
What did you think of it, Ryan?
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
I preferred the first. I think everybody preferred the first. You know, I kind of made a list of the good and the bad, and for me, the bad seemed to outweigh the good by quite a bit. So I'm not really sure where we should actually start in terms of...
Shall we start with the good? What did we like about the movie? Okay, let's be positive, okay? And then we'll tear it apart.
And then
then we'll get the claws out, just like Kristen Wiig's character.
Well, I did like to start off. I loved in Wonder Woman 1 how she's kind of coming out of her Amazonian world into the our world. And that was something, and then Chris Pine's character Steve was actually having to teach her about the world of the humans and how things work and run and operate. And I kind of like the way they'd flipped that a little bit. So in this one, you had Steve, spoiler alert, came back to life, and then it was all about Diana teaching him about the new world of 1984 and the technology and the way the world operates. And I actually really do enjoy seeing that in television and in movies, about somebody jumping ahead in time and having to be taught the things that we take for granted. It's the whole kind of fish out of water. I
like those two. I like some of the jokes surrounding him. One that stood out was the exercise bike one, when he was like, I tried to cycle to you, but I couldn't get out to work, and it was an exercise bike. And you're like, oh, that's actually quite a good one. I don't know. That one I was like, that's funny.
I like the parachute pants. Yeah. Does everybody parachute these days? And then going up to the bin and thinking it was art. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That's a bin.
That's just a bin. Oh, right, of course. That was one of my favorite things about this film was his. I think I just love Chris Pine. I don't know. As soon as he came back into it, I was like, oh wow, this is now a better film. Thank you for saving it.
Did he save it? Could they have made it without Chris Pine?
I don't think he saved it, but actually, I do think he made it better. I think he's a very charismatic presence. Now, obviously, this is all very subjective anyway. Like in actors, there's actors that I despise, but other people love. But I like Chris Pine. I think he's pretty fun.
He's okay. I mean, I do like him in Star Trek, but he's not an actor that I automatically gravitate to. If he wasn't in it, it wouldn't bother me in the slightest.
Yeah, I think they had to have that thing where she had something that, she cared about that had to be taken away, kind of thing. I think if they established a new partner for her, it wouldn't have worked as well, I suppose, because we've already known their story from the first one and how much she.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I did watch a review. Can't remember which one it was actually, and they were saying that at a stretch, you could nearly argue that the opening scene with our whole kind of Amazonian Olympics, where Diana cheated, and then she's being basically told about how that's wrong and that's not how you're supposed to kind of conduct yourself in the world, and cheating is just immoral. I have seen in reviews that that's attributed to the fact that Diana kind of needed Chris back. She's basically cheating death, and she's cheating by having Chris back. She had her time with him. So at a stretch, people could nearly argue that that was that theme from the start brought back in Chris Pine's character.
Yeah, I mean, I made that argument whenever I saw the movie. I was like, well, that must have been what they were going for, but I don't think that it's a very strong connection. I think you are really stretching whenever you say that.
Yeah, agreed. Totally.
But yeah.
But it's that like idea of he's what she wants, not what she needs, kind of thing. And then I think that
Wants
makes the
versus
ending
needs.
exactly, which is always it's such a human thing. So I think audiences really connect to that. And then also the end when she has to kind of let him go. That got me, guys. I had a tear.
I like that.
I was
I like
like,
the acting in that scene.
There
yeah,
is something in writing. Maybe you'd have a better idea of this, Joe, that they say it's better to give somebody when somebody wants something by the end of the movie, they may not necessarily get what they want, but they get what they need. So although she wanted Chris back in her life, she didn't necessarily got that, but what she needed was maybe some closure. And she did get that. So it's like a
It's
bittersweet
really,
ending.
really classic, thing to do. Not every story has it, but it's a really, really classic thing to do. Like Spider-Man 2, Toby or Peter Parker doesn't want to be Spider-Man. He wants to have a normal life, but what he needs is to be Spider-Man to save the city because that's who he is. And when he accepts that, everything kind of comes together for him, I suppose.
Yeah.
I liked the themes of this movie. I did like the themes of this movie. I like that whole thing of lies versus truth. I don't think it was done well, but I did like that it was there. I was like, it's a good theme to have. But I suppose we'll get into that, whenever we're getting into the negatives of the movie. For now, with the positives, I like the performances overall. The effects in general were good. There were some awful
CGI,
effects
actual
in it.
special effects.
Some of the special effects were nice. Some of the cinematography was nice. But then when we're talking about towards the end, no, it's not nice. And Diana running looks ridiculous.
I've seen a lot of people.
Weird.
Yeah.
I had this as a point, but then a friend of mine said to me that was harkening back to the Linda Carter who makes an appearance, and harkening back to the old way, and that's the way that they did it back. Yes, post-credit scene. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get that far. I just credits. Good night.
You were asleep.
I was asleep.
Bye.
Bye.
So explain that scene to me. Sorry. Then
so
I'm
when she is it when she's near the end? She's running after
it's right at the end.
Scene. No, it's at the end. Yeah.
What's this? The
Did
Linda
I watch
Carter
this
scene?
film?
Is this the Linda Carter scene?
The running was like apparently it was a homage to like the old series and how they would have done that really weird effect where you're running really fast on the spot, but you're also moving along on a whatever they get you to, whatever you're on.
Looked like Twilight to me. The first Twilight, whenever Edward's running through the forest, it looked like Twilight.
You've been dragged on a carpet.
Is there a way to do that well, though? I did.
In Civil War, they did it.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
true.
Fair enough.
It looked pretty good there. Yeah. I get it. I heard that as well, that it is a tribute to it. But I'm like, okay, well, this is a movie made in 2019. And do we need effects from the 80s? do we need that in our lives?
Well, in the same vein as that, you're kind of saying, do we need those? Like the opening, it's near the kind of, it's not the opening scene, but just past the opening scene. Wonder Woman goes to the mall to stop a robbery. And for me there, like it kind of set the tone of the film. I thought that the action was done poorly. I didn't like seeing her swinging around on her lasso. And I don't know, I didn't even think that the special effects were that great. I know it sounds odd, but I think there's a moment where she grabs a bad guy and just kind of, I can't exactly remember what it is she does with him, but she kind of ends up throwing him anyway. And there was something about the special effects that my brain straight away went to a scene in Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger where he's flying around. Yeah. And it just reminded me of that style of filmmaking, or that kind of, I don't know, it just felt cheap. It felt badly executed, that whole scene.
I have to agree. There was something really off about the mall scene, the whole thing.
I think that's a really divisive scene. I didn't mind that scene. I didn't mind the mall scene. That was one of the scenes I was like, this is a bit of fun. Not taking itself seriously.
I felt like you could nearly see the strings. I was like, do you know what I mean? When somebody's being thrown and they're in this perfect straight line. Yeah. Do going from where she's punched them to where she sent them.
I do find it weird how Diana seems to get about by sliding. I'm just like, why that choice? Why does she slide?
Well, she uses her muscles and the force of her thrust to slide.
I know, but it's weird. I just don't know what person gets around by sliding. You know, if it was a real 80s movie and she had like rollerblades on or something, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that would have been a cool choice.
That would have been
I would love to have seen that.
iconic. But the action, in general, I think was much less visceral than the first one. And where was Wonder Woman's badass like electric cello theme? Where was it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, I get they kind
true.
of went for more of like an Egyptian aesthetic or style with it or something, like kind of like a like a more Eastern, like I think. But I kind of thought like I kind of missed the actual original theme from the original movie.
The theme was classy, and
that
like Batman
instantly-
vs Superman, she went bam, and you're like,
Mhm.
damn, this is a cool
That was
theme.
cool.
And it was Hans Zimmer that did the music. So it kind of seemed like a surprise that I was not wowed.
I did like the music. I like this sort of superhero 1980s vibe to it. You know, it was nice music, but at the same time, I really missed that theme.
It didn't feel powerful enough.
No.
A lot of my friends as well said that there was sort of a missed opportunity to have a lot of like 80s classics in there.
Hmm.
But then, I mean, has that been done? Because we've had a lot of 80s TV shows recently, and a lot of
Yeah.
people have been kind of harkening back to that era. So has that kind of been overdone? And did they not want to?
And it was
do
done
that
so
again?
badly in it. Remember that bit? Like they were in the kid's bedroom, and he had a poster. Oh God, I can't remember the name of the band, but they just like zoomed up on the poster and like played a snippet from their thing. It was like boom, 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 and you're like, oh, nostalgia.
Oh, okay, the 80s.
You just hit
Thank
me
you.
with that nostalgia. Thank you.
Well, I think that we do have good things to say about this movie.
We do.
we kind of go from good to why this sucks.
Yeah, it just demonstrates how flawed the movie really is.
Yeah.
It's not offensive, but it's not good. You know?
Well, some people actually were saying they were comparing the CGI mostly when Kristen Wiig turns into Cheetah, kind of in the third act. They were comparing her CGI to Cats.
Release the butthole cut.
So yes, Cheetah has been compared to the Cats. Obviously, Cheetah is a humanoid feline character created through CGI for the big screen. But a lot of people some people believe that Cheetah looked better than Cats, but actually some people thought that Cats looked better than Cheetah did. And that's a big insult. I mean, I haven't watched Cats because I don't want to, because it just looks weird. But people further this theory by the fact they shot like this entire kind of scene between Wonder Woman. I know we're kind of jumping towards the end a wee bit. Wonder Woman and Cheetah when they fight, that it's very lowly lit, kind of dusk evening. You know, it's all very lowly lit. And it's kind of a technique that's used to hide bad CGI.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, so a lot of people were kind of throwing out some freeze frames of Cheetah, and then kind of drawing a direct comparison to Cats and saying, why does she look so much worse than the Cats movie?
The question for Cheetah is she a jellicle cat? Is she? As a Cats reference.
That's a good Cats reference.
I think, looking at the scene, I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong, people, but just for me, it looked like the scene was filmed to be daytime, and they converted it to nighttime in post with filters and stuff, because it was really highly lit, and it was like a wash kind of lighting. You know, there was like no directional lighting, which you would expect with an actual
there was no
purposely
lights.
filmed night scene.
Yes, you weren't seeing any kind of like physical lights in place. It was kind of casting, light and shadow. You're right, actually, in saying that it was just a bit of a blue wash. So you may actually be right in that, Joe.
Because, I got a master's degree.
Because you so smart.
We know film.
I know film. I'm qualified. Hired me.
Yeah, it looked really odd. It was.
I mean, that's not to say it was bad. I've seen a
No,
lot of
it
people
just-
drawing those direct comparisons.
Yeah.
And
It was
nobody should
very
be compared to
obvious.
Cats.
Yeah, no, that's scary. You don't want to be compared to Cats. But yeah, it was just really obviously so CGI. And sometimes you have CGI in a film and you sort of go, oh, that looked kind of real. They did that really well. But with this, it was so obvious and just really odd. Yeah, just weird.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's becoming a trope for Wonder Woman movies to have really bad CGI endings. Like, but one thing we haven't talked about is the Mandalorian himself, Pedro Pascal.
Mm.
What'd you think of him?
I like Pedro Pascal. I think he's a good actor. Really liked him in Pablo Escobar. You know, the Netflix series. Just Pablo? Or was it Escobar? Can't remember. It was one or the other. I know that's Pablo Escobar's name, but I can't remember what the franchise was.
I think it's just called Escobar. I'm not too sure.
Was it? Anyway, I liked him in that. He's great in The Mandalorian. He's not bad in this movie. I think it's not even that it was an odd choice, and he doesn't do a bad job. I think my problem was with the actual character. Like, is Maxwell Lord an actual villain in comic books in DC?
Don't know.
I don't know. And it kind of seemed like an excuse for Patty Jenkins to just do whatever she wanted. Because Maxwell Power gets a stone, and his wish on the stone is that he becomes a stone so he can grant wishes for anybody and everybody, and then just take from them as well as a consequence. So if somebody wishes for £1 million or dollars, and he'll say, that's fine, but I will take your good health. You know, he steals something from them. But it kind of just seemed like lazy writing to justify anything and everything that can possibly happen in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So they didn't have to justify all the craziness that was happening. It was just everybody got their wish and everybody was getting everything they were asking for. And so mayhem was a result and the world was just falling apart. And I don't know, it just seemed like really lazy writing for me. That character, I didn't understand him fully, why he was there.
Yeah,
and people
too.
are arguing. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think it takes away from sometimes the accountability of characters, why they make certain choices, and why their character develops as it does. But you can just then go, oh, it was the stone. The stone. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, why?
People are arguing that was the point of Kristen Wiig, her character Cheetah, being in the movie, because there was never going to be a big battle between Maxwell Lord and Wonder Woman, because he's just human.
Right. Not
so the purpose of Cheetah was just to justify a big boss battle at the end. I mean, I still liked Kristen Wiig's character. I thought she was great in it. I like Kristen Wiig, and she kind of had 3 stages of just her as Barbara playing Jane Woman, turning into a bit of a badass, and then Cheetah. And I kind of preferred. I liked her character, but Pedro Pascal's character seemed a bit lazy.
I feel like he was just a little bit chaotic narrative-wise. I didn't really follow what was happening with him every time. Like every time we came back to him, I was like, oh right, yeah, what, something about a stone? There was just something about, I wasn't really engaged with his arc as much. And then also I think the stuff with his son was a little bit overplayed. I don't know.
Yeah, we kind of agree with Uzar. Like, his character was very chaotic, and every scene he was in, I was like, whoa, like, chill. You're acting at an 11 now, Pedro. Maybe take it down a bit, because you seem to be in a different movie to everybody else here. But I don't know what to say about his character. He was overwritten and underwritten at the same time. It was an odd. He was in. I don't know. he was a messy character, and I kind of agree with you, Ryan. His character was to facilitate the whole Wishing Stone thing. Just anything can happen in the movie. We'll have a wall pop up because reasons. That wasn't the wish.
It's like the whole monkey paw thing. You know, where you grant the paw gets you a wish, and then it takes your most valuable asset or valuable quality. So for Wonder Woman, when she wanted the wish of having Steve back, it was taking away her powers because that was the most valuable thing about her.
I mean, was it? I mean, it seemed to be the thing that people valued. You know, it seemed to be like a personal value kind of thing. And that was one problem I had. I was like, is the thing that Diana values the most her powers? Or would it be like Themyscira? You know, I feel like, you know, Themyscira would like disappear or something. Or, you know, her Amazonian brethren or sisters would die. I mean, I just found it odd that it was her powers, and I'm like, the rules were vague, and
I would agree with you, Joe, in the sense that you would think nearly her Amazonian, you know, sisterhood, brotherhood, family, yes, her heritage, that would maybe be more important to her than her actual powers.
I suppose it was easier to show her physical decline, though, getting more cuts and bruises and being more affected by a physical fight.
if she had lost the tribe, you could have maybe shown more of an internal emotional struggle instead of strong woman becomes weak, becomes strong.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked it and I didn't at the same time. Like I really liked the fact that she was having to.
We never seen her totally powerless.
Right. Yeah.
We've seen her
She was getting
becoming weaker. We never actually
Yeah.
seen her at a moment of. There was never a moment where I thought, "Oh, this could be it." You know, she could take a bullet to the
Right.
face. She could
That's-
die.
yeah, that makes sense.
There's she's in real trouble here. There was never that sense. You know, I kind of thought, well, she's weaker, but she's still pretty strong, and she's still a badass. She'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know, there was
It
no
felt like they
emotional
were saying.
roller coaster to go through.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it felt like they were saying almost like because she like had chosen the guy, she'd lost herself and all of this kind of thing. And then I was like, oh, so she's having to give up Steve to like get back her own,
Yeah.
you know, find herself again. And I don't know, something about that kind of didn't work with me.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I think it was sort of done quite well.
It even seemed odd that Steve was brought back to life, but through another person.
Yeah.
So she wanted
And
Steve
they
to come
had
back to life.
sex. So-
Yes, but he wasn't brought back as Steve. He was
Thanks, Joe.
brought back as this random person.
That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking
that,
whenever.
that looked like
Yeah, they woke up in bed together, and I was like, "Did she feel his penis?
that ain't
Or
Steve.
was
Like,
Yeah.
it
this
the
feels
guy's
different.
penis?
I'm not used to
Like,
this.
so- Actually,
this
explain that to me,
feels
guys. 'Cause
Circumcised.
So she saw him as Steve, but everyone else would still see him as the
No,
person.
we, the audience
yeah.
watching, could see Steve or Chris Pine. That was just
Okay.
for us, but the world would see Steve as this guy who's actually
Okay.
credited as handsome man. He wasn't even
Yeah.
given a name.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's
Because
how
he's
he
in
was credited.
Hallmark cards or something, isn't he? Or
Yes, that was
Hallmark
actually going to
movies.
say. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in a lot of those kind
Oh,
of
and then
Christmas
they meet at
Hallmark
the
movies.
end in
And
the
yes,
snow.
the Christmas scene was actually, yes, where they meet in the snow at the end,
Yeah.
was actually a bit of a reference to the fact that he's in all these Hallmark Christmas movies.
Right. Okay. Cool.
But it was an odd choice that he was brought back as in somebody else's body. I didn't understand that. Why not just like if she
Yeah.
wished for Chris to come back?
I mean, it's
Or
magic.
Steve.
You can do what you want.
Exactly. Yes, it was granting
Well, it's the
everybody's
stone,
wish
you can
as
do
they
anything,
wanted it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why did it decide to bring him back through somebody else?
Yeah, one
Hmm.
one bit they did forget that it was Steve in another person's body because they were trying to fly to Egypt or whatever,
Mhm.
and she was like, "You don't have a passport," and you're like, "That's not Steve. That's not Steve Trevor. That's another person. He probably has a passport."
Oh, they
okay?
could go back to his apartment and find
Right.
his passport. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, my biggest issue with that scene was that they were jumping in some sort of Harrier jet and trying to fly there themselves. Passport or not, it's illegal.
a World War One plane is not applicable
Was it-
to a 1980s jet. Okay.
So yeah, loads of good things in that movie.
It seems that we always gravitate.
I did enjoy in that scene on the topic of the Harrier jet when they were flying across, and there was this fireworks going off in the sky, and they said to fly through the fireworks, and I thought visually that was just impressive.
Mm.
It was just a nice
Mhm.
visual
Nice.
moment.
That was beautiful.
But I was a bit annoyed as well that that's one of my biggest takeaways was that looked really pretty.
Yeah,
Mm,
it was actually quite a nice looking scene there.
mm.
I said the cinematography in general is fine.
It was
it's
fine. Yes,
competent and
it was fine.
yeah,
Far better in the
There was
first
a couple
one.
of shots. Although there's some shots in the first one that are really cool, but I
Mm.
like that shot whenever they were in Egypt and she like flipped the truck over and it's in the trailer.
I didn't.
yeah.
I thought that looked weird.
I thought that looked cool. I thought it was a cool like slow mo bit.
That
but-
fight scene. I was like,
With the armored trucks
just
and everything,
zoned
where
out.
she's
Yeah, I don't know, something about that scene. I just didn't
I didn't
Didn't
like.
jive
I
with
feel
you.
like I could have missed it, and I wouldn't have missed anything. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's weird. I liked her pushing the thing away with her feet, though. That was cool. But I don't know. There's something about that scene. I just thought,
I was looking to see if you would actually see some physical like muscles bulging as she was pushing. So because I wanted to see, is she actually pushing a tangible, I don't know, green screen object or is she pushing a cushion or something while she was filming it?
Mm,
Or was she just pressing against, I don't know, something soft? Because I actually wanted to see her legs really, tensing, and I want to see veins and
Mhm.
muscles just to get that impression that she's pushing
Mm.
something, but I didn't see anything. Maybe that's just a testament to how strong she is, but I just wanted to see that to actually sell that she's physically pushing something big,
Mm,
because she looked like she was struggling, but I didn't get that
Yeah.
sense from the lack of muscle tension in her legs. I know that's a stupid thing to
Mm.
say, but
no, that
No, I
makes
mean
sense.
it does matter because I don't know. I keep referencing Spider-Man 2, but that bit when he's stopping the train in Spider-Man 2, you see his suit ripping and everything, and
Mhm.
that's a cool bit.
it's the same
And
when Captain America is holding onto like a helipad on a helicopter,
yes,
and you see him and his muscles are just bulging because he's holding onto something while they're filming.
Yeah.
Obviously not a helicopter, but he's holding onto something that's causing
Mm.
enough tension that
Yeah.
it looks like it just, it affects his muscles. And I kind of just like that level of realism.
Mhm.
It's a mute point, I know, but I mean, oh,
Moot.
screw me for looking at a woman's
Yeah.
legs. I shouldn't be doing that. I should be looking at her face.
Don't
You can look
objectify
at. I
the
mean, she's on the
heroine.
film. You can look at any bit of it.
If it's on show, then it's okay to look at it. That's the way I look at it.
Oof.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh.
If you're walking around with your boobs hanging out, then you're okay for the world to see it because you're throwing them
Oh,
out there.
biblicals. Yeah, that's true. Probably.
That's probably my male gaze or whatever. But I think if I was walking out there with my penis out, I'm not going to be pissed off if people are looking because of course they're going to look. I have it out.
So is that like the
Yeah.
male equivalent of cleavage? Is just getting your penis out for the lads? Is
Just
it?
get your dick
I don't
out.
know what the male people think if you show your boobs, showing your penis is the equivalent, but it's not. In my eyes,
It's really not.
it's
Yeah.
penis for vagina. Boobs
Yeah, I would say
are a
genitals.
freebie.
Are boobs like a guy's butt? Because sometimes, I mean, if
Maybe.
a guy's wearing
But then
some,
but a girl's butt is like equivalent to a
that's
guy's
true.
butt.
Yeah,
I
girls have
suppose
a butt.
maybe
Yeah.
arms for
We
a
have
guy.
yes, arms, back,
Ooh,
chest, all that
arms.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
There
that
you
could
go.
be the equivalent of.
That's us getting off
cleavage.
easy. That's us still
Yeah.
getting off easy.
Oh,
I'll show you my
Excuse me,
arms if
but
you
you
show
have
me
to
your
work
boobs.
for those arms. I mean, you just
That's
grow
true.
the boobs, but you have to work for the arms.
That's very true. Very
oh,
true.
guys, we need to stop this chat. Ooh, thinking about big bulging arms now.
Oh, you're getting unbothered. I thought you were getting offended.
No, guys, we need to stop.
Love and
Okay.
life. Love and life.
Anybody else had anything good to say about this movie?
Um,
Obviously,
let me
there was
see, right, let me
loads.
look.
Kristen Wiig's character, I'm going to say, I liked her. I didn't
yeah.
necessarily like the way they introduced her as a typical kind of nerdy person that's looking for affection and recognition. And then when she becomes a badass, she ends up kind of getting recognition, I suppose. Because they've done that a million times before with like Edward Nygma or with is it Spider-Man 2?
Electro. Ugh.
Yes. It's always that same trope of nerdy person becomes a villain.
Yeah. I'm going to disagree and say I didn't like Kristen Wiig. I like Kristen Wiig. She plays the same character in every movie, but whatever. I didn't like the character. I didn't think the character made sense whatsoever. Like you're saying, the nerdy person. I'm sorry, but she works in a museum. She seems to have like about 5 PhDs. Why are people disrespecting this woman? She's clearly a genius. She should actually be the alpha.
That's a good point.
Like alpha. I'm not going to say male, alpha female or whatever of the group. And it just didn't make sense. And she was like, I wish I could be like you, Diana. And you're like, girl, you got 5 PhDs. Go assert yourself or something. And also, her character arc was not being able to walk in heels and being able to walk in heels. Oh, this movie is so capital F feminist. I love it.
I'm kind of with both of you because part of me liked Barbara's arc, but also some of it felt like, I mean, okay, obviously the scene with the guy that tried to like freaking assault her by the water. And then she gets her own back and she like attacks him and whatever. And it kind of felt like it was echoes of Me Too and all of that kind of stuff. And I think we have to remember that this was finished in December 2018. And it's nearly 2 years later that we're watching it. So I feel like some of the themes were more prevalent at the time. And that we've kind of, not that we've moved on, but that we're kind of not really maybe as vocal about it now. And so I feel like that scene didn't maybe play as well to audiences now.
I did come across a few people complaining about the scene where actually Kristen Wiig kicks the rapist's ass. She suddenly has all this power and she ends up literally kicking him across the pavement and into the van and across the road. And
definitely die.
She was really kicking his ass, which is fair enough. I thought, yeah, you're an asshole. You deserve that. But in that moment, I think you were supposed to start looking at Kristen Wiig's character as someone who is turning villainous and bad. So you had this rapist who got what he sort of deserved, but we were actually feeling like, oh, Kristen Wiig, you're being a bitch. You know, you're being an asshole here. You're being a villain. You're picking on this guy. You're beating him to death. And although he may not have deserved that level of physical violence against him, a lot of people kind of thought
probably did.
Well, yeah, but it raised questions of morality. Like, what were they trying to achieve in that scene? Were they trying to say that this rapist is deserving this? And whether he did or he didn't, I'm sure he did deserve an ass kicking. But why is it that maybe the studio was kind of using that moment to make us think of Kristen Wiig becoming the villain when maybe she wasn't doing something that was wrong? She was just standing up for herself. Like, if that was a random pedestrian that just said boo to or said something at the wrong time, in the wrong moment, and she flipped and kicked his ass, you'd think, oh, she's turning into a villain. But because she was kicking the ass of a rapist, should you still be looking at her as the villain? Or was she doing the right thing? Do you know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good enough.
Because you can't feel for the rapist.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt that whenever I watched that. Because I was like,
sorry.
No, like felt like, what's the point of this scene? Am I supposed to think she's villainous? Because I think anybody would like beat the crap out of like somebody who tried to rape them. Like, why is that seen as like a bad thing? Yet it is this moment where they're like, oh, her humanity's going, and you're like, no, I think she's actually just kind of asserting herself this time because he tried it again. You know, it's not like he was just sitting there and she was like, hey, you're in this cafe, I'm going to beat your ass.
Yes, for context, he tried to rape her once before. Gal Gadot saved her. And then the second time she had powers, so she kicked his ass.
And it's like, what are you becoming? I don't know. Yeah. I just like beat up the guy who tried to do things to me.
Yeah, well, I think people were just confused as to who you're supposed to feel for. And if you're supposed to feel for him getting his ass kicked, then is that wrong because he's a rapist?
I don't think you're supposed to feel bad for him. I don't think that's maybe what they went for.
No.
I actually enjoyed seeing her kick him across the street, not just because of who he was, but because it made her look like a badass.
Yeah, and it did. But then where was she going to stop? I think was maybe where they were going with it. That is she going to completely lose who she is for this magic, this power, whatever it is. And maybe she's doing something that she feels is right at the moment. Like she's like, I'm obviously going to attack this person who tried to hurt me, but is she also then hurting herself by doing that? Like where again, where's it going to stop? Like where does it end then? Who's she going to turn on?
I mean, full disclosure, he's a rapist, he's an asshole, he deserves to get the shit kicked out of him. I'm not saying he's not. I just wondered what the studio's goal was there. Was it to make her look like the villain, or was it and sympathize with him a little, or was it to because if you start looking at her in that moment as a villain, it's wrong because he's the villain. Really,
it's kind of weird.
It just seemed a bit murky. I've seen a lot of people kind of talking about that as a discussion and the morality of that moment of who you supposed to feel for here. Is she being a bitch, or is he getting what he deserved? I just thought that was an interesting discussion there. I feel like the best choice might have been to have had her kicking the ass out of a complete stranger or somebody trying to mug her.
The wee dude, that you give the food to, like have her hit him or something. He's trying to stop her and lying him.
Because she has a relationship with him. She has a rapport with him being homeless. Yeah.
Yeah, we see a relationship destroyed there. Whereas
you get on the blower to Patty Jenkins.
I have rewritten many as a movie talking about. I mean, if you want to hear my rewriting of the sequels, we can do that as an episode sometime.
Oh gosh, yeah, let's do that.
It's completely rewritten. Okay. While we're on the subject of women having strange arcs in this movie, one thing I found very strange. Now, I don't know. I never read a Wonder Woman comic, but I actually don't think that this diminishes the point either. So Wonder Woman, we see in the first movie, she meets Steve Trevor. All good. She falls in love with him. Blah blah blah. He shows her the world of men and shows her it's not all bad. But we're 70 years on now, and she's still pining after the first man she met. And you're like,
I wondered that.
Yeah. And
would you not have moved on by then?
A crazy, strong Amazonian warrior, and yet, what? Are you a duckling? Do you imprint on the first person you meet or something?
She was made weak by love, guys. It happens.
Yeah.
It does. Weak at the
But
knees.
she reclaimed.
Yeah. I just I didn't really get that.
It is nice, the idea of true love.
Mhm.
You know, and I mean, it's quite funny to think that she fell in love with one of the first men she ever met, probably, you know, and actually had a relationship with. And I think there is something nice in that she kind of kept herself, but kind of felt like in that amount of time,
For what? You know, like
she could have moved on. We all have urges,
Right, yeah.
you know.
Well,
I
that's
don't
the
know.
thing. She didn't know he was going to come back. So
yeah,
where
he
was
was dead, you know. So
And she's gonna survive.
Mm.
Like, how long does she live?
is she immortal? Because I
Ooh.
think she's a demigod.
But then
So,
worse again,
maybe
what are you going to go the rest of
Yeah.
the span of the planet of the Earth, not having
Well,
sex
hey
or not
guys,
having relationships?
maybe she's thinking, I got time. I'm immortal. You know,
Maybe,
she's
maybe.
not.
maybe,
You
yeah,
know,
maybe
maybe she's
she
going to
moved
give it
on.
100 years.
Yes,
to move
because
on.
well,
Maybe.
you could be
Maybe.
right, because time is all a matter of perspective, isn't it? Time is relevant
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
to us who are on
Be
this
true.
earth for a very short time, we're like, oh, need to get someone, need to find somebody, need to, you know, settle down, have a family, need to get married, need to do all that. She has all the time in the world, so
Mm,
maybe her
yeah.
perception of time is different.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad point, but at the same time, I still think it's kind of strange. You're like, what? So she didn't meet anybody in those 70 years?
Well, she's not like us. She hasn't came from, you know, like she hasn't lived on this. Well, she's lived on the earth, I suppose, at this point for quite a while, but it's not her upbringing. So
Yeah.
she maybe doesn't have the same kind of mentality as humans.
Maybe.
You know,
Mm.
she looks at relationships
seems
and
kind
love as
of-
something different.
Yeah, they paint her as kind of like lonely. Like she well, not lonely as in she's decided to do that with her life, but that she sort of hasn't really made a lot of connections with people. Like she goes for dinner and she kind of, not that there's anything weird about that, but they sort of paint her as quite like seeking solitude.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why then it's so much more important to her to have the friendship with Barbara or to have Chris come back.
Mm.
Maybe it's that kind of thing.
Well, like you guys were saying, it is quite nice to see Diana and Steve rebuilding and kind of reconnecting and growing that relationship again.
Yeah.
You know, like it was nice, and it is. You do feel good for the both of them. It's nice to see Diana happy and she's smiling and she finds it comical that Steve doesn't understand what a trash can is or how, you know, an exercise bike works. And it is ultimately sad when she kisses him, says goodbye, and walks away
She's
and
so
loses
strong.
him again. She is so
Well,
strong.
to be fair,
Strong
it is
woman.
Steve that tells her to
That
do
moment,
it.
that's crazy. She just turns her head and just walks away. She doesn't even look back. I was like, yeah, you go, girl.
Which brings up another issue that I had with this movie was that everything could be undone simply by renouncing your wish. Like you make a
Mm.
wish and say, I want £1 million, then it costs me my looks or my youth or my health or whatever. Like that's a consequence. It kind of takes away the effect or the power of the consequences that everybody has to bear now because of these wishes and their selfishness.
Yeah.
By just being able to go, oh, Control Z, undo. I renounce my wish. It just seemed lazy that way.
So, yeah. I mean, yeah, I mentioned earlier on that I liked the idea of the movie, which is truth versus lies. I don't like the execution. Now, the wishes were supposed to be lies. I didn't see any lying. I saw a consequence. I saw like a trick, you know, and a trick obviously is a form of a lie, but it's the monkey paw thing. If you've seen the Simpsons episode that deals with that, with their Halloween episode, you know the monkey paw. But what I thought would have been more effective, you know, for the lies would be like, say you wished for $1 million and you get $1 million, but it's a lie, you know, so instead of $1 million, you see the money, but it's like a bunch of paper and nobody else sees it. You know, it is a lie.
That's interesting.
And I didn't get the whole rules of the wish because whenever everybody renounced their wish, you know, you said there was no consequences. I think there was consequences. I think a lot of people probably died with these wishes. And
Yes, but they were brought
there were
back.
physical things. They were brought back if they were wished to have died.
You wag that finger at me, Joe.
They were brought back if they were wished to have died, but I don't think they were brought back if they died as a consequence. Like, say that wall went up and somebody got like flung up 100 feet in the air and then fell. Would they have been brought back? You know, that's
I thought they
not
did
one of the
allude to the
rules.
fact that, well, Yes, I actually see your point.
And it wasn't a status quo reset either, because everybody seemed to remember that this was a thing.
Yeah.
Why is this not remembered as like the most disastrous day on Earth, where like the rules and laws of physics were destroyed and walls were erected?
I don't even believe that everybody would renounce their wish.
No.
It wouldn't
Mhm.
happen. Like if I
Me
had $1
neither.
million, £1 million, because the exchange rate's better, I am not gonna like just because Pedro Pascal goes, I renounce all my wishes, and everyone else renounces all their bad wishes and deeds that they did. Like I wish you were dead, whatever. I ain't still gonna want to keep that $1 million. Like who am I hurting?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I had an argument with myself with regards to that. I was like, everybody wouldn't renounce their wish. And then I was
No.
also like, well, Diana did show people the truth with the lasso, sure. And so it was like truth was being beamed out to people, and maybe they realized that these wishes did come with a consequence. So you could make that argument.
That's showing
I don't
a
know.
perfect like humanity, and it's just this perfect state where everybody would listen.
It's too.
Everybody would
Yeah.
say, yes, I renounce it. I mean, there will be assholes out there that are going to say, I'm not giving up my money. I'm not giving up my
Yeah.
flashy car. I'm not giving up fame and fortune. They wouldn't do it.
Yeah. And that guy who wished his
Yeah.
wife dead, he's now wishing her back. That was a
I think
genuine wish.
I think she would come back to life from that. That's what I took away from that.
Well, I
He
think
wished
she
her
would come back
dead.
to life.
Yeah, but
But
she'd be
let's say
raging.
somebody was on a plane, right? So say somebody was on a plane and they went, I wish this plane would crash. I don't think that everybody would come back from that. Like,
Yeah.
because it's not I wish everybody would die. I wish this plane would crash, and as a consequence of that, people die. So that's what I'm kind of saying. The wish itself
think
might
it
be
was-
reversed, but
It was too wide open. It was too.
yeah,
The rules
it's
weren't
floofy. It's a very
Yeah,
soft
very
system.
floofy and very utopian ending with everyone
Yeah.
being like, okay, we'll all hold hands.
All these particles touching people from the satellite. What what was that? I don't know. Stop.
It's weird.
Shall we get on to the ending of the movie?
Well, actually, before we can get into that, I actually have one more interesting point. So the movie is about 2.5 hours long.
Mhm.
What did you guys think about the runtime? Was it too long? Too short? Was it perfect?
When I heard it was that long, I thought that's a long movie.
Hmm.
But when I was watching it, it didn't feel ages.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that a real
I didn't
English
really feel the
sentence?
time. Yeah.
Didn't feel like a long movie. No. Some people are having a lot of issues with the runtime, and then just the runtimes in general of kind of big DC or Marvel epics being too long that people expect 2 to 3 hours. But I thought it was interesting because I did find that Patty Jenkins says that there was only one deleted scene across the entire movie, so nothing was left on the cutting room floor.
It's weird. That's really weird.
It was just a shot of Steve and Diana hailing a cab to Black Gold. So Maxwell Lord's company. She did say, Patty Jenkins did say she would like to do, I think she called it like an in fashion cut, but that would just make it about 10 to 15 minutes longer. And she likes the idea of breathing and slowing pace. But I thought it was interesting that she only left one shot or one scene on the cutting room floor. Nothing else. Everything else shot was used.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes with what we're saying about it being slightly chaotic. I mean, she put everything in it.
I mean, and I sort of felt that they could have lost 15 minutes, 30 minutes and tightened it in areas. But again, it didn't feel like it was 2.5 hours. It was like it didn't feel. Usually, a bad movie drags, but it didn't feel like it was 2.5 hours. But certainly, I feel like it could have been tightened and made better. But it's just interesting. I just wondered how many people actually can say that they left nothing out.
I mean, if she likes to let things breathe, I would have rather had the opposite. Like, had less plot points and less like chaotic silliness going on, and more breathing room. Because I can't remember who it was. It might have been Chris Stuckman that I was listening to, but I think it might have been him. And he said that he really felt like the absence of action in the movie. He thought it was quite like boring at times. And I don't know. I kind of like the character interactions. I would have liked more of them and less silliness. Less.
Yeah, I'd agree. I like
around.
the characters, and I probably could have seen more of a little bit more of Chris and Gal and Barbara. I don't know. There was maybe more potential there.
Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot? Which way do you
I'd
say?
say Godot.
Godot, I'm
I
going
would
to
say Godot.
But
I'm
I'm
just
not
curious
sure.
because you were
Oh,
saying,
we're
Zara, about
unanimous,
lasso or lasso.
Right? What do we think on that?
I'd say
I call it
lasso.
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 Lasso or lasso?
Lasso. Lasso.
Lasso. Not
Lasso.
lasso.
Lasso of truth.
Somebody called it a
Lasso.
lasso.
Mm,
Is that maybe the verb to lasso somebody? No, you
I used to call it a
somebody.
lasso. I used to be like, "Oh, look at that lasso," because that's what I would see when I was walking down the street in the Old West was the lassos everywhere. But no, now I just call it a lasso.
It's because she calls it a lasso. But then I thought that was because she has that
Probably.
kind of twinge of an accent. I don't know. Like good guys, I don't
interesting.
know.
These are the deep questions that we ask on this podcast.
Exactly.
Comment
guys, we get to the
below and let
nitty-gritty.
us know what you think.
Let us know.
Tell us your thoughts. Give us that engagement, SEO and whatnot.
Yes, so sorry, Joe, you were saying about the ending.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I just went into a daydream there. Yeah. What do you think about the ending? Because the last one, was criticized for its big CGI bust up, between Ares and Wonder Woman, whereas this one was like the opposite, where she was just like literally sitting in a corner, speaking softly, and telling people the truth. What did you think of that? What did you think of the execution of it?
I think the ending of Wonder Woman 2, where she's sitting in the corner, Maxwell has been lassoed, and she is speaking to the people of the world through him. And I think that's the ending that Patty Jenkins wanted. I don't know that, but I did read that the finale, the big battle scene that happens at the end of Wonder Woman 1 was actually something that the studios forced. She wanted something a bit more subtle and softer. She didn't say what that would be or how that would look, but she said that was something that the studios forced her to do. And I kind of feel like that maybe the ending of Wonder Woman 2 is, and I kind of feel like maybe this is something, the ending of Wonder Woman 2 is maybe kind of a more breathing ending. That being said, I don't know what I prefer. I haven't seen Wonder Woman 1 in years. And I wasn't a big fan of the big fight scene at the end of Wonder Woman 1 anyway. I remember feeling it was a bit rubbish. So I kind of felt a bit unsatisfied either way.
What do you think, Sarah?
I like the quiet power of what she was saying, but I also didn't like Max in his wee tube of light screaming and I could just see how that was filmed, green screen with like him just like going crazy and
standing there. It felt very cheesy.
Yeah. I really like the idea of it. Whenever it was happening, I was like, I really like the concept of this ending. I like the fact that she is just sort of sitting there talking everybody down and exposing them to the truth. But it felt like it was made for TV in the early 2000s. It looked really cheap and really nasty. And I thought that the sound levels were totally off. Now, it might have been my home setup, but at the same time, I really, really dislike in movies when there's a loud thing going on. He's shouting, there's wind blowing everywhere, there's like particles making noise, blah, blah, blah.
Like Tenet.
I don't know. I haven't seen Tenet.
I just rip it on Tenet all the time for Zara.
But see when characters like talk quietly in amongst all that, I'm like, nobody can hear you, girl. Nobody can hear you. I don't care if you're speaking the truth or showing the truth. Nobody can hear you because you're not near the microphone. You're not near the thing that needs to amplify your voice. There
is a video on YouTube I have pegged or under the like watched later section of my YouTube channel, and it was called loudness versus sound or something like that there. That's something I have to watch because I'm very curious, because it kind of pertains to what you were saying, Joe. And that's something, yes, I joke, but with Tenet, that was a big discussion point. People were saying that kind of audio levels and sound levels kind of seem a little bit everywhere these days. So
I think Christopher Nolan, like, he has been criticized for that, because I got the Blu-ray of The Dark Knight when it came out, and the dialogue scenes were so quiet and then the action scenes were extraordinarily loud. So I was constantly like with my TV just turning it up and down. Yeah, it's so distracting.
I talked to him. He does it on purpose.
Oh, your
my
best friend,
God.
your lover.
Yeah, we're best friends. We talked. So
Oh my
it's fine.
God. You're like a celebrity or something,
He
Zara.
answered my question.
Yeah, I mean, he says he does it on purpose. It doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very true.
But yeah, that's what I thought about the ending. I thought it felt like a CW TV show finale.
Mm, yeah, that makes
Budget
sense.
$200 million.
Yeah.
I like the yeah, the ending was slightly strange. As I've said, I didn't like the stuff that was happening with the stone and all the renouncing of everything, but I still really like the themes, like to strive
Mm.
for truth, to be inherently selfless. All of these things that are a struggle as a human, and that kind of thing of like authenticity and it's that idea, I guess, of there's many ways to tell a lie, but there's only one truth kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I really was on board with that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, I think, the kind of Patty Jenkins version of an ending that she would like to have, which is something a bit more kind of quieter, something that can breathe.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like it was the approach that they took with Marvel's Doctor Strange, where generally at the end of every Marvel movie, it's a big fight. There's colossal damage and there's deaths and there's explosions and buildings are falling and people are being punched through buildings. And Doctor Strange did the opposite of that. And their ending wasn't about destruction, it was about rebuilding. So they were kind of reversing time and stuff was being rebuilt. And that was a different approach to the ending. So I kind of felt like this was more like that take on that kind of Marvel movie, whereby instead of going something like the first movie that had big explosions and a big fighting sequence, she got her own kind of a quieter version of an ending. It doesn't have to be a big dramatic battle, because even with Cheetah, like the battle wasn't huge, it certainly wasn't epic. And I kind of felt like for me that on two levels it failed, because the quiet ending where Gal Gadot is kind of just being a bit cheesy and telling the world to renounce all their wishes felt a bit cheap, especially the whole renouncing idea. And then when I went to the kind of the battle with Cheetah, I mean, because the CGI wasn't great, and then you could argue that they filmed it and kind of just pasted a blue kind of wash over the front of it to hide the effects, and the battle wasn't big or epic. I just kind of felt like the whole ending felt a bit flat. You know, the biggest takeaway I had from it was Gal Gadot walking away from Steve, which
Same.
I would imagine would be something that would be very, very difficult to do. It wasn't a goodbye or I love you or I can't believe I'm never going to see you again. It was a final kiss and a walk away as she teared up. And I thought like that, to me, showed true strength more than anything, because she knows what she has to do. She knows that she has to walk away, and she doesn't have the time to sit and dwell on what she wants, or to have a final hug or have a big drawn out conversation. It was just kiss and goodbye, because that's what the world needed, I suppose. So for me, that was her biggest strength, was seeing her do that than her big battle or her big cheesy dialogue.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway as well. That was the thing that I kept remembering when people were like, oh, was it good? I was like, yeah, there was this great scene with, and then I was like, and they were like, yeah, but was there like action? And I was like, oh yeah, there was loads of action, but there was this great scene.
It's one scene, okay.
I do remember watching the scene where she's like flying through the sky and she needs a bit of momentum, so she uses her whip and like hooks onto an airplane. And I immediately thought, like, fuck, that's dangerous, because they're just made out of aluminium. Like,
Physics.
what happens when she damaged something? Like, not good. I thought that was very reckless. And she clearly didn't need the momentum because she can fly, so I didn't really understand the point of that. I didn't,
Yeah. I mean, in the comics, Wonder Woman can fly. She's not like as fast as Superman or anything, but she ain't slow. She doesn't need to whip on stuff.
Funny.
So, what's your rating for Wonder Woman 1984?
Ooh.
Out of 10.
And are we doing like, I'm addressing you directly, the podcast listener. Are we doing the plebeian thing of 7 out of 10 is average? Are we doing an actual movie scale where 5 equals mediocre or like average, and we actually give it a real score, because then every movie would be like 6 or 7.
But I kind of feel like in gaming and the movies, the standard now has been risen to 7 out of 10.
If you give it 7 out of 10, people are like, oh, you said this game was shit. And you're like, 7 out of 10 is like 2 points above average. Chill, baby.
But I wouldn't even think that, like, I was going to, on the scale of 1 to 10, I would think that it's a 6 out of 10, maybe 6.5. I'm not in a rush to watch it again. But if you're going to say that 5 is average, it feels wrong to give it a 4, and it feels wrong to give it a 5 because I didn't really feel like it was an okay movie. The first one, I loved it, and it's bar Batman. She's probably kind of my favorite hero in the DC universe because I don't hate the DC universe, but I think it's next to Marvel, it sucks, and a lot of the heroes and villains they have in it, in my opinion, just suck as well. So I don't know.
What about you, Zara?
Zara's in charge, so she
because
you talked to Christopher Nolan, so clearly you know more about movies than any of us.
We're best friends, so it's fine. I am thinking, well, if we're going by 5 is like average, then I guess I think I'm gonna like up mine slightly to a 7.5 because I did like it overall as a film, even though there were so many little things about it that were random and odd and chaotic. But as a standalone, without any other, things to judge it by, I would say 7.5 because I really liked a lot of little things in it. I love the costumes. I thought they were really, really cool, but it looked really cool, and I like the characters. So I'm gonna say 7.5.
I am going like 5 is average, which is where I think most of the Marvel
what you went with,
movies
Sarah?
sit.
Yes. Was 5 your average?
Yeah, 5 was my average.
Yeah, so
it seemed really high.
You give it a decent review then. Since we are going 5 is average, I'm giving it a 4.5. I do think it's slightly below average. I sort of like judge those like, okay, it's an average movie, but would I watch it again? And no, I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't watch it again. So I'm just going to give it 4.5. Good solid 4.5.
I feel like as a DC movie, because the Superman movies are all shit, Aquaman was shit, Justice League was shit.
Actually, haven't seen Aquaman.
Don't.
As a DC movie, I would probably give it a 6.5, maybe a 7. As a DC movie, I'm not sure how that equates. As a standard movie, I would probably give it, with 5 being the average. I feel like I'd be leaning more towards a 4.5 to a 5, maybe a 4.5. 4.75.
Okay, there we go. You just split the difference.
4 3/4.
As a movie, I thought the action was okay. I felt like the story was a bit lazy with the stone. I felt like the CGI was a bit pathetic. You could also argue that with the whole cheetah thing. Gal Gadot was great. Like I didn't see anybody and think their acting's awful. There's nothing on the performance. I think it's just more with the villains and the script writing. And the CGI, for a $200 million budget film, you'd expect something incredible. So I wouldn't be in a rush to watch it again. And if they're rushing out a third, I would wonder why so soon. Because even this hasn't been like you're saying, like rating success, the reviews aren't great, and even the financials aren't great. So how are they justifying a third unless it ties into the further on down the line in the DCEU?
Maybe.
All right, DCEU?
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite true. I mean, why are they rushing it out so quickly? I mean, it's not like it was a financial success. As we say, it's not the film's fault that it's not a financial success. It's the situation at the minute. But
that's blaming COVID. Can you take the gamble and assume that Wonder Woman 3 will do better once cinemas are open and the world's back to normal? Can you take that risk?
It's interesting.
Because they've lost, I'd say, well, no, they haven't lost money. They've made a bit of money. But I wouldn't be in a rush to see the third one, having seen the second.
I'm definitely surprised that there's going to be a third.
Yeah.
Already been greenlit,
Studios love, cashing in on beautiful women beating up bad guys,
If they're going to tie the third one into some big next level Justice League movie that's coming out, then I kind of wonder why they just didn't lay the groundwork for that in this movie.
That's literally what I was thinking when you said the third one. I thought, are we just going to have the second one be a random middle film and then have the third one be, as you say, a kind of follow on then to some other Justice League films? Also, is Robert Pattinson's Batman going to be, instead of Affleck's, which we've already had a film, a sort of Justice League, everybody's in it film? I don't know how they're gonna. I don't know what their plan is for the next kind of
Does
5 years. Or whatever.
Wonder Woman 2 then, when you've seen the first one, or not the first Wonder Woman, sorry, when you've seen the likes of the Justice League or Man of Steel or whatever it is, kind of sets it in present day, should Wonder Woman 1984 not have had more repercussions for the storyline then? Of like, we're seeing Man of Steel or we're seeing Justice League in present day as we know it, should then Wonder Woman 1984 not have upset the world as we know it now? Should it not be vastly different?
Mm.
Well, we don't know what the consequences were because it was all so vague.
Exactly.
But,
so Wonder Woman 1984 has ruined the timeline.
Yeah, well, here's the theory for what could happen. If they do want their own Infinity War, which they probably do, remember, like, there was that exposition scene in the middle of it where they went like to this hippie dude, and he was like, "Oh, the gods, created different things. They created blah 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 blah," and you're like, "Yeah, is this going to be your own version? Is this going to be your own version of the Infinity Stones? These god items."
There's a question.
Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
Or it might not be. I don't know.
Probably knock off Infinity War.
I didn't know until I did a bit of research today that Wonder Woman was molded from clay in their lore. I wonder, in that world, were men like molded from shit or something? Just
yeah. Oh, and well, they're obviously basing it on Greek myths, so everybody's molded from clay. But if you want a good Wonder Woman movie, that's probably better than both the live actions. Go for the DC animated universe. It's actually a decent movie, and you get a better version of Ares. Yeah. You get Wonder Woman's backstory as well, which I think, like, the first Wonder Woman live action movie there was kind of based on the animated one, at least like the beats of it anyway, because they went with the same origin story, because Wonder Woman has like multiple origin stories, but they based it on the same one. So go watch the animated one. It's a better movie. I've actually watched it a few times. So yeah. What's the outro, Zara? Take us out.
Yeah, I'll take you out, guys.
In one. Let's do it in one.
Okay, in one. Okay.
Now you know how us actors feel, Zara.
I know, right? How do you guys do it? Well, that about wraps us up this episode. Thank you so much for joining. You see, my mic's just.
There you go. It's okay.
Whoa. Okay, let me this seems to work. If I direct it over here, it seems to pick it up less tinny. So let's try that. That about wraps us up this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed hearing our thoughts and opinions and general banter. Follow us on Facebook for all the latest news about the podcast, and we'll see you next week.
I was going to look up 1980s goodbyes, but I'll just go with it again.
What's the 1980s
Give us some.
These are the 1980s slang nobody uses anymore. Oh, gag me with spoons number 2. Obviously, they love it.
What is that?
I love that.
It's like a Valley Girl thing, it's like gag me with a spoon. It is an expression you can use when you want to show like disgust or disappointment. It's not enough to say I disapprove. Basically, you're so disturbed that you want to test your gag reflex. I know a few other things you could gag me with.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Oh no, I clicked away from this page. Well, goodbye everybody. Gag me with a spoon or not. Your choice.
That too.
There's an ending in there somewhere.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll get it in post.